Yo YouTube, what's going on? It's your boy SalvationsElite. We're back with another video, guys, and today Rostermania is upon us. It's dawned once again, and you know, following Anaheim, which in itself, Anaheim was an awesome event. I mean, tons of energy in the arena, and it was just a really fun event overall, and I just really enjoyed it as a whole. The work side of it was great, and the games and the attendance and the whole, the fun side of it was great as well. So overall, awesome event, and I really enjoyed it. I shout out to everybody who I met there. Obviously love talking to all you guys there, and so it was a blast. So before we actually talk about Rostermania, because there's a lot to talk about, Skyz to LG, Envy, Splyce, EG, you literally just everything going on right now is going to be wild. So we have a lot to talk about in the video, but I always do like a little montage in my first video back from each event. So let's just roll the montage.
Scump goes in, tagged up, backed up. It's Cellium with the cover, and Scump's gonna have to back away for now.
The Maddox advantage.
Scump goes through, and Scump stands with the one-on-one in Optic with the reverse sweep.
But yeah, baby, overall, awesome event, like I already said, and I can't wait for the next one. Miami is in a few weeks, obviously, in mid-July, so can't wait for playoffs. It's going to be a good time. Hopefully, I can meet some of you guys there as well. So with that said, Rostermania, baby, is upon us, and it started yesterday, and it's a really, really short Rostermania. It only goes till Thursdays. I don't know the exact time. I'm assuming it's probably 5 p.m. Eastern time, but it does end for sure on Thursday. So basically, I have like 2.5 more days of Rostermania, and that's it, and that's the end of roster changes for the rest of the year until the end of champ. There is so much that can happen in the next 2 days. I'm more than likely I'm gonna put a little hold on strats videos and tips videos and gameplays for a little bit, because we're more than likely to have to do a Rostermania update tomorrow as well, and probably one on Thursday as well. We'll see. But basically, following Anaheim, there's a lot of teams that have to make changes. Envy, EG, I mean, obviously there's Gunless out there in the nether out there somewhere, and LG's already confirmed to make changes. So there's going to be a lot of teams looking for new players. You know, of course, players who they bring in, other teams are going to have to be making changes as well. The majority of teams are going to be making roster changes overall. More than likely, obviously, this was with a grain of salt, but more than likely, the only teams that won't make changes for sure are Optic, Gen.G, FaZe, and 100 Thieves. I would be shocked if any of those teams make a change, considering how well, relatively, Anaheim went for all of them. So besides that, any team could potentially make a move, even including United, depending on what could possibly happen with Gunless and a few other guys. So far, the only things that we know for sure is that Fero's a restricted free agent and that Classic is a restricted free agent. And so that's basically all we know for sure right now. The rumor is that Blast is going to get dropped by Midnight when Midnight finds a guy that they're looking for, but we don't really know who that is yet. But there really hasn't been too many rumors right now, which is really surprising for Rostermania, considering a lot of times a day and a half in or so, we're hearing a lot more than we are currently. The Codburner's been quiet so far, which is interesting. I think he might be trying to play a little bit low maybe after his most recent leaks the last few weeks or whatever. But anyway, so first let's just talk about Gunless. There's a few issues overall with Gunless's situation, and we do know that he has a pretty large buyout. We don't know the exact number, but we think it's over $100,000. So it's hard to say how many teams are actually going to be willing to, you know, pay that. And there is something to consider for this Rostermania is Splyce and Envy already have spots in the Pro League, and all the other teams don't yet at this point. If there's going to be teams that have spots, we don't know about it yet, and I don't think players know either. So there is a thought or an idea that the orgs, like specifically Splyce and Envy, are going to be way more willing to spend a lot of money on getting their core roster now, because it's going to be moving into the franchise CWL next year. So this all goes back to say that I'd be the most confident that Envy or Splyce would be willing to pay that buyout for Gunless, because they'd want to build around that core of either, you know, either Huke and Gunless or Temp and Gunless if you're Splyce for the franchise league next year. So that's why it's important to take that into consideration, where other teams who may not be in the Pro League or for sure won't be in the Pro League next year might not be willing to drop that much cash on a buyout for one guy. So I think LG is going to be limited with those options when it comes to Gunless, because from what we know from LG is that they want an elite player in return, but there's no way that Splyce or Envy would trade for Gunless and get rid of Huke or Temp. The biggest rumor right now is that Gunless would be headed to Envy for Decemate, which is definitely interesting. And because we're talking about LG right now, Skyz was confirmed to transfer to LG. So Skyz signed with LG, which is a great signing for LG. I mean, legitimately, Skyz is an incredible player. These last 3 events, basically, he's got better and better and better, and he's looking like an incredible player for Black Ops 4. So the rumors are right now that Brack very likely would be joining him on LG, and it's very possible that Decemate would be traded for Gunless, but that is, you know, completely still up in the air. It's hard to actually say at this point because Gunless is such a variable. I would not be surprised if LG's roster ends up being Formal, John, Skyz, Brack, and Decemate. That seems like a very likely outcome for LG, but again, it all depends on the Gunless situation, where maybe instead of Decemate you have Gunless, which obviously would be on paper incredible, but there seems to be some type of issues there with LG as an org, or Gunless with maybe with Formal. It's hard to say, but overall, that is a very plausible roster with either Decemate or Gunless, and I think that'd be a really good team moving into Miami, and they would be a legitimate threat to 100 Thieves. But again, I don't want to like count Splyce out of the equation, because it's very possible that Splyce tries to get Gunless and pair him with Temp, which would be a wild duo. And I mean, again, we just have to wait on that situation. Obviously, we'll keep that updated as the few days goes along, but just keep your eyes on that moving forward. And similarly, obviously, that would mean that Slack would be a free agent as well, because he wouldn't be on that roster, so it'd be we'd have to keep an eye on where he would potentially go. It's hard to say where he would fit necessarily, considering EG and Envy almost for sure need to make changes. Like they're guaranteed to make some type of change, and more than likely those teams are almost going to be completely imploded. Like maybe 1 or 2 guys stay on each roster, but they could potentially have 3 or 4 changes per team. Right now there's like really quiet or very few rumors about what's potentially going to happen with those guys, so as that news starts coming out, obviously we'll talk about it again, like I said. But so the other thing that I really want to keep an eye on these next few days is specifically the Elevate roster and E6, because GodRx and Kismet, specifically GodRx, had a crazy event at Miami, which possibly raised his stock just enough to get onto one of those elite teams. We'll see. I wouldn't be surprised if GodRx or Kismet ends up on one of those top tier high-end organizations. And so that's something to keep an eye on. And then Elevate is gonna have to replace Skyz, which is it's gonna be a tough hole to fill for anybody. And so that's something that we need to keep an eye on to see who ends up going there. So overall today, I mean, we're going off of mostly rumors, a few confirmations. The LG news is what's the most solid and most likely the biggest domino to fall first. But the whole Gunless thing is, it's hard because it's really slowing down, I think, a lot of other roster moves, because teams aren't sure what Gunless is going to do. So, or what LG is going to do with Gunless more specifically. So overall, guys, again, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you guys did, like, comment, favorite, and subscribe. Share the video if you guys really enjoy it. Again, the strats videos, gameplays, and tips, and everything else will be coming in the next few days. We're just be covering a lot of this Rostermania news because it's so compact, and you know, it's all going to happen within 2 days, basically. So there should be a ton of news to go over in the next 48 hours. So anyway, guys, I really appreciate all the support. It means a lot. And as always, guys, I'm your boy SalvationsElite, and we'll see you next time. I'm out.